All right. Hello, I am Tiffany Taylor. I am your strength-based pathfinder and host of the HelloStrengths podcast. And the HelloStrengths podcast exists because we are on a mission to look for what's right about what women think, feel, and behave and how they behave. And so today I'm thrilled because we get to have a special guest, the military yogi, and Christina here to talk about her top 5 Clifton strengths. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And as I've told you, and how our listeners already know, I usually start off with the same 2 questions for the podcast. We're going to do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to ask you those same 2 questions I ask everybody else, but we're going to play a little game first before I ask those. So I have with me several pictures, and I'm going to ask for you there's 3 pictures. So I'm going to ask for you to pick the picture in this first set of pictures that describes what you get paid to do. So don't tell me why yet, but just pick out the one picture of these 3 that you think describes what you get paid to do. Okay. So the first one is this guy. You see this?
Mhm.
Okay. So option 1, option 2. There we go. Option 2. Okay, and then option 3.
Oh man.
What you get paid to do. Let me fan them out, even though they're not. Let's see. Do.
I'm gonna
This
go,
guy goes this way. There we
yeah, I'm gonna
go.
go with the lady, the lady. Yeah,
This
that's what
lady. All right. That's the look. Okay, we'll go with the lady. All right. Next set of pictures, same thing, except for this one, it's a description of what you are passionate about. Let me see. Let's get them in the right order now that I know how to hold them up. Okay. So there's the first one, and the second one, and the third one.
I'm gonna say the second one.
Second one. So we're going with this one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then the last set of pictures, we're going to go with how you think people would describe you.
Okay.
And then here's this one. And this one. And this one.
Dang. I'm gonna go with the lion.
The lion. Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Now we're going to start with the questions I always ask everybody. What do you get paid to do? And what are you passionate about?
So I get paid to be a civil engineer in the Air Force. And right now I'm on headquarters staff, and I get paid to do a lot of paperwork, answer a lot of emails, and coordinate a lot of information and solve a lot of complex problems. What I'm passionate about is right now in this season of life, I'm very passionate about my women's retreats for women in the military service or that have served, or military spouses, creating space for them to come together, to connect both with themselves and each other, and to finally feel like they can take a deep breath and have someone take care of them for once.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Well, I am very excited to go over your top 5. So for those of you who are listening to the podcast for the first time, when I refer to the top 5, that is the CliftonStrengths top 5 assessment. So you recently took the assessment, you got your top 5 report, and those are the top 5 strengths or talents. So your natural way of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And my hope for you is that after this podcast, that those 5 words will be more than words, but will be insight, language to help you communicate what's right about you to yourself and to others. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share your top 5, and then I'm going to give you the CliftonStrengths definition of those top 5, and then so we're going to name them. We're going to name your top 5, and then we're going to spend some time claiming those or telling stories about how those top 5 have shown up for you, both in what you get paid to do and what you're passionate about. And I just want to say and remind our listeners that these top 5 strengths are very unique to you when you get them. So when I read your top 5, the likelihood of somebody having those top 5 in the same order is 1 in 33 million. That's the
Wow.
likelihood. So they are very uniquely yours. And the likelihood of somebody having your top 5 in, random order, not the same order, is 1 in 300,000. So they're very unique to you. And as we go through this and you're thinking, oh, I really want to learn more about this strength or that strength or how they work together. When you got the report, they have a list of your top 5, and then underneath it, you'll notice that each strength or talent has a highlighted area. Those highlighted areas are going to be the areas that are specific to you and the theme dynamics of your own. So after this, if you're like, where do I start? Where do I even start? Because I have so much I want to learn. Go to your report, look at the highlighted areas first. Okay. So that's just a tip right there. All right. So very excited. There are 34 Clifton strengths. So the 5 that we're going to be talking about, there's 34 options. So these are your top 5 from the 34. And when I say strengths, and talents, those are somewhat interchangeable. So before I list them, I want to explain the difference between strength and talent. So a talent is your natural way of thinking, feeling, behaving, right? When you intentionally invest time into that, that becomes a strength, right? So the goal of CliftonStrengths is not to become this well-rounded person who is good at all 34 strengths. That is not the goal. The goal is to invest time into your top 5, maybe your top 10, right? And then learn about the other strengths, talents that exist that would be helpful for you to build that skill set to be successful in your personal, professional life, whatever you'd like to do, right? So for you, and of those, and all 34 strengths, they have homes. They live in these domains, these leadership domains, we call them. And so of the leadership domains, all of your top 5 either live in the executing leadership domain or the relationship building domain. And so I'm really excited about exploring the dynamics between that. So executing, how to get things done, right? And pairing that with a relationship building. You're getting things done, but you're not leaving people behind. So very excited about that. All right, so top 5. The first one you have is harmony. So I'm going to read you the CliftonStrengths definition, word for word, of harmony. Okay. So, people exceptionally talented in the harmony theme look for consensus. They don't enjoy conflict. Rather, they seek areas of agreement. Can you tell me a story? Tell me a time where your harmony, talent, strength has shown up for you.
I definitely resonate with the avoid conflict part. Conflict makes me sweat and itchy. I don't love it. And I guess I'm trying to think of a quick story off the cuff. I know that in many staff meetings that I've been a part of, there's always that staff meeting where people start to go down the rabbit hole, and there's this departure from being on the same team. It's like us versus them. In the reserves, a very unique kind of us versus them is the traditional reservists, the 2 days a month parts of the unit, and then there's the full-time staff. And I've been on both sides of that. And so when I was the director of operations for the 555 Red Horse Squadron out at Nellis, when I started that position, there was a lot of us versus them mentality between the traditional reservists and the full-time staff. And everybody wanted to accuse the other side of it being their fault. And so when there were issues or when there were problems, one of the message threads that I really started trying to iterate a lot was, hey, 1, we're all on the same team. 2, the entire purpose of the full-time staff is to support those traditional reservists. That's literally why we are getting paid. That is why we exist. So let's get out of this us versus them mentality, and let's start thinking about how can I be of service to the traditional reservists who are our primary goal and responsibility? How can we take care of them? So I would say that could be an example of how I was practicing harmony, and I didn't even realize it at the time.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the part where as I hear you tell that story, I'm also thinking about your other strengths and the dynamics of your other strengths and play with that. And so I'm gonna actively tell myself to stick with harmony right now and not go into the other ones. But just so yeah, with harmony, you bring peace loving, conflict resistant. And so I want to make a really good distinction here about a misconception of harmony. And I think you did an excellent job like helping me explain this in your story, is that with people that are exceptionally talented in harmony, they're not conflict avoidant because they are scared or weak or all, insert like a negative stigma, word in there. They're conflict avoidant, conflict resistant, because they understand the value and the kind of work that can get done when everyone comes together.
Mm.
They just see it as like a waste of everyone's time. Like, we could sit here and argue, but why do that? Because if we actually bring all of our talents and strengths to figuring problem solving out, we're going to be more efficient. We're going to figure this out. So it's more about having respect for everyone's talents in the room than that avoidant, like, oh, I'm too scared to like be in conflict, right? I just know it's not worth our time, and I respect your time and your talents enough. So your story definitely supports that. And harmony needs areas of agreement and common ground, right? And so I think, I am so excited to continue to explore with you, even beyond this podcast, how your relationship building theme of harmony supports your executing strengths, allows you to get things done, right? Oh, I'm very excited about that. All right. I'm gonna force myself to move on to the next one. Okay. So your second talent strength is consistency. So let me read you that CliftonStrengths definition. And the reason I'm reading you the CliftonStrengths definition word for word is because when you go into the highlighted section of your report, it's actually going to give you a more detailed description that aligns with you as an individual. And I did pull some of those out that hopefully we get to talk about later. So this definition is the broad general definition, but when you go into your report and you look at the highlighted areas, you'll see how it breaks down even further for you specifically. So consistency. It's an executing theme. People exceptionally talented in the consistency theme are keenly aware of the need to treat people the same. They crave stable routines and clear rules and procedures that everyone can follow. Now, can you tell me a time where consistency has not only shown up for you, but maybe gotten in the way?
Yes, of
Where
course.
this strength, yeah, because I think a lot of people too, I want people to know that, the strength work is not about like rainbows and sunshine and ignoring when things go off the rails. It's realizing that, oh, these things can show up and actually get in my way too. So consistency gotten in the way?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I would say I see this most in myself in the routines and patterns, like the second part of the definition.
Mhm.
I am very much a creature of habit. I like things to happen the same way each day. And so I don't really respond well to changes in my routine or schedule. And so that has gotten in my way frequently, very frequently, because life be lifing and things change all the time. Oh, well, this week my
Yeah.
husband is TDY, so I'm solo parenting. Oh, well, this week
Mhm.
the war in Iran kicked off, and now we've changed the whole ops tempo at work, and we have battle staff in the morning, and we have crisis action teams in the afternoon. And so now I'm having to mentally pivot my comfortable schedule,
Mhm.
and that can make me very grumpy and very whiny, and that has gotten in my way, and that can prevent me from quickly adapting to new situations. because I
Mhm.
spend a lot of time and effort being grumpy about the change instead of figuring out a solution to adapt to the change. So yeah, very set in my ways. I'm sure I'll be like that crotchety old lady that's like, that's not in my routine. That's not my schedule. Because I just crave comfort. I crave comfort and
Mhm.
consistency and repetitiveness. And that's just kind of my personality. And that's kind of baked into who I am. And so it's cool to hear this from a different perspective, because I'm all about, like, I've done the Enneagram and I've done the
Mhm.
Myers-Briggs, and to
Yeah.
hear it in this language is an interesting new adventure.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that story, and I love you for being authentic and honest about how things get in the way. Absolutely love that. And I will say, so, I've taken same assessments, and I definitely think that the assessment itself is important for me. The reason I decided to dedicate, my work and what I do with CliftonStrengths is because of the language. I found it accessible and easy to hold on to and easy to learn from. So I'm glad that you're experiencing that too. People exceptionally talented in consistency bring rules and policies that promote cultural predictability, and they need standard operating procedures. So yeah, you definitely have an SOP in mind for the day,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so, yeah, all right. So we're going to move on to the third talent or strength, and that is relator. And this is in the relationship building leadership domain. And let me read you the Clifton Strength definition for relator. So people exceptionally talented in the relator theme enjoy close relationships with others. They find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve goals. And so for this one, could you please tell me a time that relator has shown up for you, and you may choose shown up or got in the way, and what you're passionate about?
Mm. This one was an interesting one. One, because I kept reading it as realtor, not
Yeah.
relator. And I was like, I'm not a realtor. But as a relator, um, I think for this one, I definitely feel like it shows up a lot in the way I want to create space on my retreats.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the things that I hope people leave my retreats with is the experience of feeling seen and heard. I want them to feel like they're not alone. I want them to be connected, even if it's not with me. Maybe it's perhaps another woman that's attending the retreats, and sometimes I can't necessarily take the perspective of someone whose experience that I haven't shared, but
Mhm.
I can, facilitate a connection between um two people or a group of people that have had similar experiences. And I've had people leave the retreat that have gone on to have, like, friendships where they met one time on retreat, and then they're new besties, and they come on retreat again just so that they can spend time with each other. And so I don't know if that gets after, like, the CliftonStrengths definition of the
Mhm.
relator. Um, but to me, when I hear that word, it's like helping facilitate connection between others. And for women in the military, it can be a very isolating experience. One, there's not a lot of us. Two, the higher you climb the ladder, the harder it is to connect with people and to feel seen and to feel
Mhm.
connected and to feel like someone understands your experience. And so creating these connection points, I think, for women outside of just the day-to-day grind of work is really important, and something that I'm very passionate about.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And as you're talking, I am going to pull some of the highlighted words or insight into your specific relator strength, because these stood out to me like automatically. I was like, oh, I have to share these. So when you go back to your report and you look in the highlighted section for relator, it will mention that you like social events, but not only social events, but well rehearsed and organized, right? Where you've streamlined a process and you're investing deeply in your circle of trust. And you like that to be small and intimate. So I think that's exactly what you just described in your retreats, right?
Yeah.
And um, I also like to compare Relator and Woo. So Woo is another strength or talent. And Woo is I like to bounce around and make connections with a lot of people with, not can't really speak for everybody's Woo, but not with the intention of those deep, meaningful, longing, impactful.
Mm,
So Relator and Woo, right? So you might
okay.
have some people in your retreats who share that Relator strength. You might have some people come to retreat and they might have a woo strength where they're just hopping around, getting to know the better, and they don't contact anyone afterwards. Doesn't mean it's less rewarding for them, but that's how they find reward in those connections. So as you get to know more and try to understand Relator, maybe looking at woo and comparing those will help you stand the difference between how woo and Relator like connect with people. But yeah, that's for later exploration. All right, so responsibility. Responsibility is another executing strength. And the CliftonStrengths definition is people exceptionally talented in the responsibility theme take psychological ownership of what they say they will do. They are committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty. And they need freedom to take ownership. So, how can you tell me a story where you needed the freedom to take ownership of something that led to successful execution of whatever that task may be?
Can you give me a little bit more context as to what freedom to take ownership means?
Yeah, so where you want those moments to yourself to do the planning, the organizing, write that SOP,
Mm,
and you might be handing over portions of it, but you're handing over portions that are predetermined. You're not
okay.
bringing people together to ask their input on how to get the task done, but you're like, this is my plan. I've taken ownership of the plan. I will give you parts of the plan, but those parts of the plan need to be executed with fidelity to the
Okay.
points that I demonstrated.
That makes a lot more sense. Thank you for
Yeah.
further defining that. So I'm sure I have like plenty of examples of like the work side of the house, but I find
Hmm.
my retreats to be that much more interesting and exciting to talk about. So I am very, very particular on the experience that I create on my retreats. And I could talk for way too long on what that means, but I have a very defined vision of what it looks like. And for the longest time, that meant I did every piece of the retreat planning. I wouldn't let anyone else do it because I knew exactly what I wanted and I knew
Hmm.
exactly what my vision was and I knew exactly what kind of experience I wanted people to have.
Hmm.
However, once I started full-time orders with the military, I had much less free time to plan my retreats, to work on, to do
Hmm.
research into the area that we were traveling to find fun activities in the area.
Yeah.
So I hired on a kind of a research assistant. She's wonderful. Her name's Kelsey, and she's a military veteran as well. And I gave her the things that created analysis paralysis for me
Hmm. Hmm.
because I know that I try to find the perfect solution and I was spending like an excessive amount of time researching retreat houses, researching activities in the area to the point where I would be spinning my wheels for weeks and weeks and weeks without making a decision.
Hmm.
And so eventually I was able to develop a rough SOP of, okay, Kelsey, I'm looking for a retreat house that meet these non-negotiable criteria. And
Hmm.
these are the nice to haves. And here's the kind of experience that I want them to have. And here's how I want them to feel. And because of her and her strengths, she was able to translate that into a list of like 6 choices
Mhm.
I found you these 6 choices for retreat houses that meet these criteria and this budget and, have these features that you said was a nice to have. And now I only have to choose from 6 instead of having to choose from, 50 that are available.
Infinite worldwide options.
That's
Yeah.
right. So having that additional person to kind of reduce the overwhelm and to translate my vision into a selection of choices has allowed me to really continue to host these retreats. I think otherwise I would not have had the time or capability to continue doing this passion thing that I'm so excited about, and that's something that fills my bucket and something that's so important to so many women. I think she has really enabled me to continue doing that, even while having a limited amount of free time.
Hey, well, I am so glad that you brought her into the conversation, because our talents and strengths don't live alone, right? We see them and we can tell stories about them because of our interactions with other human beings, right? And so again, to what I was saying in the beginning, that the goal isn't to be the best at all 34 talents or strengths, right? And so I don't, we don't know people's strengths without taking the assessment. But, the fact that you were able to say, hey, maybe I need to find somebody who has this analytical strength, who I can give information to. They can take the relationship building, the worry about being responsible for people's feeling, and just give me the facts about where am I going, how are people getting there, like be very analytical and logical about that. And so it's less about, oh, there's something wrong with me, I'm not analytical enough. That's not the approach we have. It's, I recognize that there's someone out there who has an analytical strength that can help me achieve goals. I'm going to find that person, and together our strengths are going to come together and we're going to be this dynamic team, right? So I love that example. Yeah, okay. So we're going to move on to your 5th talent, which is deliberative. So let me read you this definition real quick. All right. So people exceptionally talented in the deliberative theme are best described by the serious care they take in making decisions or choices. They anticipate obstacles. Now, when you hear that definition and you think back to the stories you have shared for your top 4, this 5th deliberative, you can see how it snuck its way into the rest of the stories, right? So, and that's again, like, our strengths don't stand on their own, right? They work together, they show up together, right? So in this last definition for deliberative, so again, best described by serious care, making decisions and choices, anticipating obstacles. What I would like you to practice is telling me a story about where your deliberative strength has paired with one of your other strengths, again, harmony, consistency, relator, or responsibility, to overcome an obstacle or anticipate an obstacle.
You ask good questions. So I think the deliberative strength is something that I related to and saw myself in immediately. So much so that I related to it more than even some of my other higher ranking, because it's very tangible to see in my life. I think the most obvious connection that I see is the one between deliberative and responsibility, because I feel a heavy weight of responsibility to make the best decision, by doing research, by talking to experts, by reaching out to subject matter experts in my career field, or in areas where people are doing the thing that I'm trying to do, or they're experts in the subject. So I'll use an example that I'm experiencing right now at work, the thing that I get paid to do. So I'm working alongside my team to build out an exercise right now. It's an exercise that has been happening for many years, but we are adding a new layer to the exercise where it's not just a flying exercise anymore. We're now adding in a layer of sustainment and support services. So now we're putting the people on the ground that make sure you have food to eat, and make sure you have a tent to sleep in, and make sure that your air conditioning is working, and making sure that your laptop is hooked up to the internet, and et cetera, et cetera. And we've never done it before. And it's been frustrating because it's all new and it's never been done in this way before. And so I feel a lot of ownership around the engineer part, the engineering component of this, because I'm really responsible for the experience that my engineers have during this exercise, and to make sure it's value added for them instead of a quote waste of time. So I definitely feel a compulsion to make sure that I am being deliberative in the research that I'm doing. I'm reaching out to people at Air Force Reserve headquarters. I'm reaching out to people in like exercise that specialize in building exercises, because I've never built an exercise before. So what do I know? And then just doing research into the source documentation as well. You know, what we're exercising is a relatively new concept in the Air Force, and there's not a lot of historical data on it. So I'm having to kind of build the plane while the plane's already flying. And that's very stressful for me because see earlier, like consistency, love consistency. And this is not very consistent. This is a total departure from what I'm used to. So trying to like, you know, self-regulate during all of this and making sure I'm staying calm and that I am keeping harmony in the groups, because everyone, they get frustrated from time to time and they're like, this is stupid. And this is ridiculous and we shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, okay, everybody, like, let's take a deep breath and, you know, let's remember that we're on the same team and we have similar goals. And so, yeah, it's kind of a lot of intersecting of a lot of these different strengths that I'm really only now realizing while I'm sharing about these these last few weeks that have been very frustrating and very stressful. But, you know, kind of seeing these strengths show up in the way that I'm approaching the problem. Again, a very complex problem that I'm paid to solve. I'm not at resolution yet. I'm kind of in the messy middle right now, but we'll see how things turn out.
So thank you for sharing that. One of the, you know, there's a lot of reasons why I was excited for this podcast with you today. One of them being that I too myself have worked in very complex systems. I love working in complexity. And one of the things that I know myself I bring, but I also look for is people who see the people, the humanity, the civility in complex systems. And you're one of those people. And so as you tell your stories, and it's how do you protect civility, humanity, human beings in these complex systems? And with your combination of your relationship building and executing, it's like, how do we get this done, but not lose the people who are helping us get this done? And so, you know, how do we keep these trains moving without, like, you know, somebody getting left behind? And so I just want to say thank you, because that does take a lot of intentional time, energy, effort. And I'm so thankful that you recognize that and have, you know, how do I self-regulate? How do I take care of myself in all of this process, right? There is a pattern that I hear with people who have relationship building themes in their top 5 where they fail now and then, every now and then, to take care of themselves, right? And so I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. Also, thank you for taking care of yourself in the process. And as we, you know, as we continue to speak outside of the podcast about your top 5, you know, we've claimed them. As we continue to talk about how now you want to use this new information to aim your talents at these, you know, these wonderful goals you have, what you're paid and passionate about. I'm really excited to do that. So we're going to be wrapping up, but before we wrap up, we're going to go back to those pictures that we looked at. And so now looking at these pictures, I would like for you to try to use some of this new language, some of your talent language of harmony, consistency, relator, responsibility, deliberative, to explain these pictures again in words that it doesn't have to be just be, it could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be, you know, however you want to do it. But how would you use this new CliftonStrengths language on your talent to describe the work you get paid to do?
So when I saw this picture, she reminded me of like a musical conductor. And I feel like that's what I'm doing in the position that I'm in, is that I am responsible for bringing harmony to all these different units that I'm responsible for making sure that they have what they need and they're appropriately resourced, and that I'm an advocate for them. And so kind of taking chaos and making something harmonious out of it, and making sure that the people that I'm responsible for are all playing their important part in the bigger picture.
Yeah. I can almost hear like the orchestra, like tuning their instruments, getting ready, and then being like brought together for the music. So yeah. All right. That's great. Okay. What about what you're passionate about? How would you use that?
So when I saw this picture, I saw like, yes, the nature of it, but I saw the spaciousness of it as well. Like it felt very open, and it felt like there was room to breathe in that picture. And so the retreats that I host, there is a desire to create that spaciousness for others in their physical bodies, in their mental space, in their spirits. And the way I do that is through a very deliberative process to create the experience. The responsibility that I feel for each woman that attends the retreat, and the relator piece as well. You know, facilitating relationships, I think, is the most important part of these experiences, and allowing others to make those connections. I think, that picture just kind of, I thought about breathing when I looked at that picture. And that's what I hope to bring to the people that, you know, I'm passionate about serving.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So the last one is how others see you.
This was the hardest one for me. Because I was like, well, I'm not an adventure seeker. I'm not jumping off any cliffs. I'm really bad at surfing, and I have no coordination. So I guess it's the lion. And so now I have to make up something good of why other people see me as a lioness. I guess, it's hard to see yourself through the lens of your strengths. It's much easier to see yourself through the lens of, here are all the things that I'm bad at. Here are all the things that I'm weak in. Here are all the things that I wish I was more talented at. And, I've had so many people share with me that they're like, you are so brave, and you're like, what you're doing is just amazing. And I'm just, in awe of, and I'm like, why? It's just me. Like, I make stupid videos on Instagram and like, I'm kind of a dork, and I don't know what you guys see in me, but for some reason people have this perception of who they think that I am. And apparently it's like pretty cool. And that's why I went with the lion. I have no idea why people see me that way. But it's always like very affirming, and it's definitely like a funny kind of moment for me, where I'm like, yes, tell me how beautiful I am. Thank you. Yes, please tell me more. It's nice to be affirmed by others in that way.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, hopefully, you can be confirmed by yourself more frequently too now. You have the language, right? You have the language to kind of pin down what is it? Like what is that aura, that vibe? Like what are people? And there's like a language you can put now to it, right? And
Mhm.
so as we wrap up, I want to say thank you and encourage you not to keep these talents and strengths to yourself. Ask others who you care about their opinion. So, share these strengths with people whom you care about their opinion. Share this. Don't keep them to yourself and find moments to celebrate them, recognize them. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tiffany.
All right, take care.